Alright guys, so I have entered a long position here on pound Aussie dollar. Here looking at an hourly chart, so this is a zone that we've had here for quite some time, right? If we go back previously, right, you will recognize this. And really what we've done here is had a nice strong break to the upside in a nice retest right now. This is the second time doing this, and so uh, I was not um, going long here on this first one because my bias at that point was bearish, and so I was looking to go short here, but that did not work out either. So I'm really liking this because if we look at a daily chart, this is what's sort of interesting here, right? Is previous daily candle is what we didn't get back here, right? Previous daily candle, we have a really nice close, and we are now close above this zone, right? Back here, had a close below, and then the daily candles weren't really lining up very nicely, but here, daily candle is closing above this zone, and we have since just formed a new daily candle just a little bit ago, which we have opened to the downside and are now pulling back into this zone to test as support, right? So that's one thing I like about this is it's not just, you're not just looking on an hourly chart to see, zones get tested on a 30-minute or an hourly chart, and that's all you do. That's all that you're doing. What's nice about this is the daily chart is also moving in, is also in correlation with that, right? They're both essentially telling us the same thing. So yeah, anyway, really a fan of this price action. We had a very strong push up, are now pulling back. Don't have exactly a 3-to-1, but I'm very comfortable with the ratio we have here. I think this is going to work out pretty well. So anyway, we'll see in the next couple of candles how we initially react to the zone. Obviously, like I've been saying recently, if you wanted to maybe not be so risky, could wait another 2-3 hours and see if we come up and then retest again, that sort of thing, or at least show an initial response to this level, as in we are, testing it as support, so, or holding the level as support. So anyway, just a little update on this new position I've taken. But yeah, what I really do like I said, is how the daily chart looks here, right? Daily candle closed very nicely above this zone, right? We weren't just closing in the zone, around the zone. We clearly, definitively went above the zone. Or now, new daily candle is pulling back at the start of the candle, so that gives us a very, high probability that this candle will, is establishing a bottom wick, and we can move to the upside. So, anyway, that's what I'm looking at now on pound Aussie dollar. All right, guys. So here we are on pound Aussie. You can see we have reached our target pretty nicely. We were very precise with this because we have started to pull back, and we have, it looks like, broken this recent structure. So this is good. Our targets up here this was a good target to have. Yeah, we had a little bit of drawdown on, at the beginning. But what I really want to look at is obviously, this zone that we've had. Let's go to an hourly. We've had this zone for quite some time here. This goes back to a previous trade. So yeah, we've had this zone for a while. So we have many instances of this zone being respected and sort of rejected, right? And so we know that this is going to be a key level still relative to this price action here. Now, what I want to show why I got in here and was looking for a trade here is because, and I believe I mentioned this at the beginning, you can see this for the entry, is this daily candle, right? So right here with this price action, this zone here, we had a lot of candles closing below, and, right here, this really wouldn't have been an area to go long because we didn't, maybe for a smaller position, right? But we had a large pullback, and, this close wasn't very strong, right? Now, what I don't like about this close is this close obviously closed above this zone, but it closed a little bit too close to this resistance here, which isn't a very favorable area to go long. What you really want is a nice strong close just a bit above, right? Like this is perfect. So here's our zone, and obviously this zone, we can see how it's relevant on the daily chart, but it's also extremely relevant on a 4-hour and 1-hour chart, right? Sort of within that time frame range. But anyway, so this is a weak close here. We obviously closed below. This was, a very strong close, a little bit too above, right? And this was as well too close to this resistance. So what you want, like I said, is something that closes strongly, but not too far above not too far, not too far above the support zone, and that's what we got here. And so what I like about this is this close right immediately, right as the new candle opened here, we opened immediately to the downside. Okay, I don't know if we made maybe a very small top wick, but really no top wick. We opened immediately. Entire body was to the downside, which is exactly what we want to see. So once we get that, we know that what's likely is we are building, creating a bottom wick at the beginning of the daily candle for us to move up for the rest of the daily candle. And obviously that's what we did. We did come down a little bit lower, which is why we just need to have decent stop loss, right? And I mean, like I said, we could have maybe had it a little bit further, which would have been underneath this wick. If we look on an hourly chart, um, right, that would have been just under here. That was the daily low. But I think, when we look on an hourly, we can sort of correct things. I think this is fine. I don't think we really needed to have it underneath this wick. But anyway, I hope that makes sense, right? You want a nice daily close. That is, I mean, it's not going to be the same setup every single time, but what you sort of want is you want your daily and weekly, structure to sort of confirm what you see on the lower time frames, right? So obviously, looking at this on a daily, we see this nice close above our zone, and we open this new daily candle immediately to the downside, and then that already it looks bullish to us. Then when we go to 1 hour chart, what do we see, right? We have the daily close, and then here we open immediately to the downside, and yeah, like I said, we come down a little bit more, but of course it'll never be perfect. Nothing will ever be perfect, so you have to just take everything for what it is, right? But that's why you have stop losses, so you can endure some drawdown, because you're not going to be too precise, right? We're not trying to, we want minimal drawdown, but we're not going to get no drawdown every single time. So, and then we're just targeting this high up here, right? Decent risk to reward, close to a 3-to-1, or 1-to-3, and yeah, overall good position. I hope that makes sense to you. That it's not so much about, oh, this candle closed above the zone, so we're going to go long. You have to factor in risk to reward, right? So here, with this daily candle close, with the drawdown that we could potentially have, because we'd have to have stops, it's just not the best risk to reward, right? But with this, getting a candle to close a little bit above, and then the pullback is is minimal, right? Because we're not closing so high above like here and here. And so anyway, I hope that makes sense. Good position. Yeah, it's one of those trades I was very confident in, just because, like I said, the daily price action daily structure mixed in with the lower time frame price action. You sort of want everything in harmony, right? You don't want the daily chart to, appear very bearish to you, and then the hourly chart, somehow looks bullish to you, and you're a little bit confused, and so you pick one. It's not that type of thing. You want every time frame to kind of tell you it's like every time frame is telling you a story, right? And it needs to all work together, or else the story doesn't really make sense. That's sort of how I look at it. But anyway, big fan of this position, and yeah, we're going to see how we go from here. We'll probably, we have some resistance up here that we're tapping into, obviously, which is kind of why our target was about here, this wick. We'll probably pull back into maybe this level or a little bit lower, and then we'll just, we'll go from there and see where this takes us.